tired, let me turn to Dr. Zaldy S. He's director of the Memory and Aging Program for Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. Dr. Tan, how big of a deal is this? What do you make of this study?
Well, the study certainly adds to the evidence that disease modification for Alzheimer's disease has arrived. That means that we don't just have symptomatic treatments like the ones that are currently in the market. So now there is convincing evidence that reducing amyloid burden by these monoclonal antibodies can actually decrease the rate of progression of the disease in the early stage.
But is 27% reducing the symptoms by 27%, is that, I mean, you tell me, is that a big deal? Is that significant? What does that mean for a person with early stages of Alzheimer's when they take this drug?
Well, that is the main question, isn't it? 27% is certainly not 50, it's not 75%, not close to 100%. And I think that speaks to the fact that reducing amyloid is not the complete picture. Amyloid is only one of the proteins that accumulate in the brain of people with dementia. So I think what we will be seeing in the future are further therapies that are aimed at the different proteins and other mechanisms that is involved in Alzheimer's disease, and therefore getting that number up to 50, 75, and hopefully 100% reduction in the rate of progression.
How worried are you, Dr. Tan, about the side effects? Some pretty serious side effects, brain swelling, bleeding in the brain?
Indeed. And this is especially true for people who have two copies of what we call the ApoE4 allele. It's a marker of increased risk for Alzheimer's disease, and all the trials so far have shown that this group of people who have this specific mutation are increased risk for bleeding and complications associated with this medication. Now, for people who do not have this mutation, they found that the rate of the swelling and the bleeding is actually quite low. In some cases single digits, and on average about 12% or so. So again, it requires selection and risk-benefit discussion. Certainly the two people who have passed away who were taking the medication were on blood thinners, for example, or were given something to thin out their blood. And those people who are on blood thinners, we really have to be careful because of the increased risk of bleeding.
Dr. Tan, some 6 million people in the U.S. Suffer from Alzheimer's. Globally, I believe the number is roughly 30 million, and that number is expected to double by 2050. What is happening? Why are we seeing these kinds of numbers, this kind of surge in Alzheimer's disease?
Well, it's a combination of things. First, we are having more people live to the age of risk, meaning people are living longer because we are better at treating heart disease, cancer. We have better public health prevention for other diseases. Now, with dementia, there's also increased awareness of it. A lot more people are going to doctors complaining about memory loss, and hopefully they will get the proper diagnosis. So I think it's a combination of things. Now, whether there is something in our exposures, in our lifestyle that is increasing that risk, nobody knows yet. But we do know that the global burden, as you said, is great, and therefore any developments in terms of therapeutics and prevention is definitely welcome.
And finally, very quickly, Dr. Tan, do you think in our lifetime, are we going to be able to see some kind of cure or even preventative treatments that could stop people from getting Alzheimer's?
I've really been encouraged in the last few years of the development. I think, as you said, it will be a combination, just like with heart disease, with cancer, with diabetes, some of the other chronic diseases that afflict our population. It will be a combination of prevention. It'll be a combination of precision medicine and risk stratification, and eventually disease-modifying therapy that will prevent or reduce the risk or, in fact, cure this disease. But that will be a combination of medication. I predict that it's not going to be one drug. It will be a combination of 2 or 3 drugs, just like we do for other chronic diseases like cancer and heart disease. But I am very hopeful that we will get there